Well, the political temperature in the last few weeks has been inching up. Why? Because of the voter register is back on the agenda and the Ghana card. The Electoral Commission has a new CI that they've laid before Parliament that is generating a lot of talk. And so I extended an invitation to the General Mosquito, as you know him, is the Asiedu Nketiah. He's the General Secretary of the NDC for a conversation about this. I really want to understand the NDC's position. He, of course, is the chief scribe of the party. He's the General Secretary. He's the chief executive. And so what really is their position? As you know, they've also boycotted the Electoral Commission's IPAC meetings. And I know there should be one that will be happening soon. And when will they change that position? But there are a lot more that I want to get through today. And let me just quickly go through. When we sit down, we're going to go straight to the conversation. So let me just lay the foundation so you understand why this conversation has become relevant. So it's about this particular CI and this clause that is inserted in there. It says that a person who applies for registration as a voter shall provide as evidence of identification the national identification card issued by the National Identification Authority. That is the only provision that specifies what you need, the ID card you need to qualify to be registered to vote. And so if the CI is approved and becomes law in Parliament, you can't come with any other document than your Ghana card, which is, in essence, what the issue is. The controversy has erupted from here. Now, the registration. Now, per the new CI, another thing that we picked up, the EC plans to conduct the exercise from district offices. We have the district registration supervisor and we have the registration center supervisor reporting to the regional officer in terms of the new structures you're creating. And we have two registers, the electoral area register and the constituency register. Dr. Kodua, for example, will come to his concerns. He's raised concerns that you may have double voting here. The Electoral Commission actually mentions and cites the CI for 2020's elections. And it says this is a provision that was already in the law, and so this isn't new. But we'll come to what Dr. Farajan says. Now, this CI is before Parliament and has been referred to the committee called the Subsidiary Legislation Committee. And that committee, ironically, is chaired by a member of the opposition. So the NDC's own former Deputy Attorney General, Dominic Ayide, is the chairman of that particular committee. So they will obviously have a significant say on what eventually becomes law. So why is the NDC complaining when they have a formal channel to correct any ill in a CI with their own chairman at the helm? And so that's a question I'll ask the General Secretary when we get into the conversation. But this is an interesting thing we want to pull up for you. In terms of registration IDs that you require, identity documents you require, in 2016 elections, when we're going to the elections, there were 5 identity documents that you can use to get onto the register. Then this now narrows to 2 in the 2020. And now we're going to the 2021 CI, which of course is going to be the substantive legislation for 2024, has reduced it now to 1. So you see, incrementally, something interesting is happening from 5 to 2 to only 1 document as an ID. So what are the documents? So if you go to the 2016, you have the passport, you have your driver's license, you have the national ID card, you had an existing voter's ID card, you have 2 registered voters as guarantors who do not have any of the cards listed. So 5. So some say this was well thought out because the Constitution says, what do you need to vote? You have to be 18 and of sound mind and a Ghanaian. That's all, right? So make sure you have as many identity, means of identification to get on the voter as possible, so you can fulfill that clause in the Constitution fundamentally. And that is why in 2016 you had all these, including the guarantor system. And then you come to 2020, and this narrows, as I indicated, to 2. You have the Ghana card, passport. The guarantor was also there, so 3 of them, right? The process. So it narrowed down, but still, fairly. Get a Ghana card, get a passport. You get on. You can't like guarantor 2. Just go and take a guarantor. You are on the thing. And then you come to now, this is the only document you require. No more guarantor system 2. And I think this is also a very interesting point. And now no more guarantor going forward. is one that the EC is pushing also. So which means you'll just have to show this card. If you don't have this card, as some have said already, no Ghana card, no vote. It's in essence what the mantra is. But then you look at, so if the Ghana card is the only one, then the NIA will have a lot of things to say about whether you vote or not, really. And you look at the population, we have 19.9 million people above 15 years. And I put this here because that is the age for getting a Ghana card. So that is the total number of the population that should have a Ghana card. Should. Now, but how many Ghana cards have been issued in reality is 15.7 million cards. And then population that is 15 plus without a Ghana card is 14.2 million. So that tells you a story, right? That's a huge number of people that currently, in that bracket. And they, of course, will include many 18-year-olds who are just turning 18, who don't have a voter's ID card already, who all need to register. Dr. Farijan, one of the most famous EC officers we've had in this country for a very long time, had concerns. So the Ghana cards as the only source will disenfranchise people. That's his first main concern. He also says a few things. The new proposed system meant fewer registration centers will also come. People have to travel to go and register. That could affect people. And he says, don't you register? That is polling station specific. Is under concern. Then it may also give rise to multiple voting and ballot stuffing if you have two registers. And then since biometric verification devices are not all linked, that then is become difficult to detect if somebody wants to vote twice. The minority have a position on this. They made the point that the EC's plan originally is actually to get rid of the 2020 register and have a new one and have the Ghana card. We know the EC says we're not getting rid of 2020 election voter register. We're just doing one for continuous registration, 18, and those who are not on it already. And then later, we'll also talk about the economy. We'll talk about the reshuffle of the government. We'll talk about by-election or no by-election in Dom Kwabena and others here on the PM Express. So this is all we're going to talk about, just so that you get a sense of where we're going to be doing. So when I sit down, John Singer Asiedu Nketiah, you see him on your shot there, is my guest here on PM Express. After the break, that's him on the television. We'll get into the specifics of all that. You don't want to miss this. John Asiedu Nketiah never disappoints when I interviewed him. He gives me a tough time sometimes, but I'll stand my ground. I'll do so. So yeah, join us for a good conversation. I know it's going to be, so don't go anywhere. So John Asiedu Nketiah is my guest. He's in the studio with me. Let's get straight to it, since you understand the background of the conversation. Mr. Asiedu Nketiah, we are still 2.5 years away from the elections. This CI, first of all, were the parties consulted before this was even drafted?
Well, NDC was not consulted. We cannot pretend to be spokespersons for the other political parties.
So the first time you heard it was when it gone to Parliament or in the media?
We got a draft.
Okay.
And we were asked to send a representative to the legal committee that will work on the draft. We sent a representative. And that representative was never invited for any committee meeting. And the next thing we saw was that it was in Parliament.
Why are you opposed to it?
We are opposed to it because of the very reasons you have enumerated. For instance, the Constitution guarantees every Ghanaian 18 years and above the right to vote, and imposes an obligation on the Electoral Commission to register such persons so they can vote in all elections and referenda. And so, another section of the Constitution also imposes a duty on the Electoral Commission to embark on programs that will expand voter registration instead of restricting voter registration. So, if you look at the law as proposed, Electoral Commission intends to use Ghana card as the sole source of identification for the purposes of registration. Ordinarily, if every Ghanaian has Ghana card, that would have been the perfect system. But you have a situation where the rollout of Ghana card is incomplete, leaving out about 4 million people without Ghana card. So if you are on the obligation to register everybody, and you know you are going in for an identity document that will exclude about 4 million people, then from the word go, you are adopting a policy deliberately and consciously to exclude some people from exercising their right to register and vote. So that's all. So the idea of using Ghana card as one of the documents is a good thing, but because of the others who have not obtained the Ghana card, there must be another means of identifying such people so that you can include everybody.
Let's clarify. So you are not opposed to the Ghana card?
Not at all.
You're opposed to it being the only document for identification?
Precisely. And we are opposed to the fact that it has not been a complete process. Indeed, if everybody, every Ghanaian 18 years and above has the Ghana card, we will be the first group to support the use of Ghana card because it will help us to weed away a lot of challenges that attend to registration processes. But here we are, some people have Ghana card, others don't have. So if you say that you are using only Ghana card, then from the word go, you are intentionally disenfranchising those who don't have Ghana card.
The EC has explained that you have a year and two and a half, almost just over 2 years to go to the elections. And because they are not doing away with the 2020 voters register, there are already 17 million Ghanaians who are already on the register. So this will affect those who turn 80 and those who have not registered before, who are already 18 and above. They are going to roll out, from what they explain, a continuous registration over the next 2+ years. So they believe that gives enough time to the NIA to, within the 2 years, close the gap for all the 90 million plus people to now acquire and hold their card to register. Isn't that a solution?
That argument is faulty, my brother. From where we sit, everybody would have preferred that maybe by the close of polls, all the electoral documents should be flown to Accra, okay, so that we can get them speedily. But you have some regional capitals having airports, others don't have airports. So because you hear that the Civil Aviation or Ghana Airports Authority intends to build airports in other regional capitals, then you go and make a law today that all electoral materials should be flown to the EC headquarters. When you know that you don't have the airports, you are having to rely on some other organization to provide the airports, there is a possibility that that organization may fail in providing those airports, and yet the law would have been made. NIA is rolling out the ID cards. They themselves have come out to indicate their challenges, the reasons why they have not been able to roll out the cards according to their own projections. So far, all the projections they gave have failed. One of the key reasons is funding, for instance. Even this year, the budget they brought to Parliament, half of that budget was cut off. And so if they have projected that this year they are going to register maybe 1 million people with a budget of maybe 3 billion, and you give them 1.5 billion, it means that they are going to register 500,000. So you cannot rely on those projections in making a law for the elections. If you want to make the law, just make it if everybody has the Ghana card and there is attestation. And by the time the EC comes to do the registration, NIA has given everybody a card. The other forms of identification will be redundant, and that redundancy will not affect anybody's right to be registered or vote. So to be on the safer side, you are better off adding other means of identification so that in case they become redundant, it doesn't affect anybody's right. But if you are going to use one sole document for identification, and you know that if NIA doesn't deliver, it affects somebody's right to vote, then I think the choice is obvious. And again, this whole idea of Electoral Commission trying to throw dust into the eyes of the Ghanaian public that the law is for continuous registration is completely false.
Why do you say that?
Because you see, in this country, we don't have two laws for registration. One for a whole overhaul of the register and a separate one for continuous registration. You have one law for registration. So we have never passed two laws. The same law will provide for continuous registration, it can be used for continuous registration, it can be used for limited registration, and it can be used for a total overhaul of the register. It is a policy decision of the Electoral Commission. If the Electoral Commission decides that we are going to do a whole register, they will not have to change the law, they will use the same law. If they decide that we have to do limited registration, it is the same law. If they decide that we have to do continuous registration, it is the same law. So we cannot, going by the history of Electoral Commission, nobody is convinced if Electoral Commission just comes out without anything in the law and then to tell us that, believe us, we are going to use it for continuous registration. What happens if they use it for something else?
But considering that the 2020 register is still intact for 2024, it applies that it will only affect those who are going to be registering now.
No, nothing makes it intact. Evans, let me tell you.
Maybe you think the EC might change?
Let me tell you what. Yes, by their history.
And say they are doing away with the 2020 register?
I'm telling you.
That sounds very far-fetched.
All the laws based upon which the previous registers have been done, they are all going to be repealed. Okay.
When this comes.
And then, yes, but they are saving the register itself. But all the laws based upon which the register had been made are going to be repealed. Number two, we have been here before. You remember the issue of the health insurance card?
Yes.
Good. Electoral Commission had used health insurance card as a breeder document in registration to build a previous register. That matter was closed. We had a register intact. Then somebody goes to court that the NIA card should not be used as a basis for identifying Ghanaians. Then the court rules in his favor that the NIA card the health insurance card cannot be used as a breeder document. Electoral Commission comes back to comply, deletes the health insurance card from the new law that was being made. Then the person goes back to court to say that once the Supreme Court has ruled that the health insurance card cannot identify Ghanaians for the purpose of registration, but you have an existing register which had been used, where the health insurance cards was used to capture some names. So the court should compel the Electoral Commission to go back and delete all those names. The court ruled, and the Electoral Commission was compelled to go back and deleted all the names of people who registered with health insurance. So now, if you are going to limit the breeder document to just the NIA card, if somebody goes to court that there were other documents that were used in the compilation of the existing register, so the court should rule that those are not proper documents, they should identify those people for their names to be removed from the register. The court, by its own history, would have to rule in that favor. And then you go through the back door to now go and tamper with the existing register. So if anybody is telling you that this is just for the purpose of a new register, that person is just...
But the scenario you paint, it's a far-fetched one.
It's right? Not, because this is the history.
But the assumption is that the Supreme Court will automatically agree somebody.
How can the Supreme Court go and rule against their own position, which they had taken earlier on? I'm telling you that it is about the same breeder document.
But that was the NIA card they ruled on. But in this case, you have the passport in there. You have the driver's license. In fact, the 2020 elections, yes, they used the passport, yes, and then they used the Ghana card, yes, and then they used the guarantor.
Yes.
You're saying that the court right now, yes, could possibly say
go and delete all of them, because the law now says that it is only the Ghana card that can identify.
But this law cannot take retrospective effect, obviously.
But that was what happened in the past, because they are saying that, this is the purpose, this is the only means of identifying Ghanaians. So health insurance card cannot be a proper means of identifying. So
in this case,
if the court rules now, if this law is
it will only happen if the court believes that either the passport guarantor system or the Ghana card, or one of them or all three, isn't an identification document sufficient to get onto the register.
This time it is not going to be the court even going to have the option of ruling. That is the law that has been passed. If the law is passed, that it is only the Ghana card, then it is not the court that is going to determine whether the others are proper means of identifying. Okay. So the law is there. It makes the work of the court easier. Somebody just walks to court and say that, look, the law says that the NIA card is the only means of identifying Ghanaians. So all other Ghanaians who have been identified with all these wrong means for the purpose of registration must be cleaned from the register. And the court,
I get a sense that you suspect that the ultimate agenda is to somehow get rid of the 2020 register. Is that your suspicion?
Through the back door.
Is that what you fear might happen?
That is what
in the next 2 years.
Yes, because if the other means of identifying Ghanaians, if the Electoral Commission believes that they are genuine means of identifying Ghanaians, how come they are dropping them from the new law? I mean, so they themselves are dropping those means of identification because they believe that there's something wrong with them. And if they believe that there's something wrong with them, and you allow them to use this one alone, they will go back and remove all those.
Let me ask you, you say if it becomes law, I just make the point that the Subsidiary Legislation Committee, and thankfully you were a member of Parliament, so you understand the workings of Parliament.
Very, very well.
Yes. The Subsidiary Legislation Committee, which it has the, your good friend mandate to look at, is chaired by your own former Attorney General.
Yes.
So you should rest assured that it will be dealt with at that level.
No, Evans, you see, there are different means of passing different type of laws in this country. Where you have an act of parliament, a bill is brought, the bill referred to a committee, the committee can look at the bill and suggest any amendments. Then the bill comes back to the floor of the House. It is subjected to many amendments. Now, the type of law that the Electoral Commission is proposing is coming as a subsidiary law. A subsidiary law.
To a parent one.
So to a parent one. In this case, the parent law is the Constitution.
Yeah.
So the institution that is bringing the, that is supposed to discharge some duties, they have the responsibility of bringing a subsidiary law. And because there is a parent law, the laws governing the passage of a subsidiary legislation is very restricted. So for instance, if you bring a constitutional instrument or a legislative instrument, the rule is that once it is laid, Parliament requires two-thirds majority to be able to throw the whole thing away, or else it gets passed in 21 days.
But you have the power to make sure that doesn't happen. With your numbers.
Nobody has that power. No one of the two parties has any power to throw away the law, unless all the members of Parliament agree so to do. So if they bring the law and it is laid, once it is laid, you can't even change a comma in the law. You either throw the whole thing away with your two-thirds majority, or it will pass after 21 days. Whether the committee works on it or not, after 21 days, by operation of time, it has become...
So you have to arrest it before laying.
So, because of this and the challenges that Parliament has gone through, at times the thing will be laid and you realize that there is some unconstitutionality somewhere, or there is a major problem somewhere, or even a very minor problem, but with bigger consequences. but you can't change even a sentence. So Parliament has developed its own protocols that before you lay it formally, come and do pre-laying. So bring the draft and let the committee sit down with the sponsoring authority and look at the various provisions. When it is properly cleaned, then you are given the green light to now come and lay formally.
There's your opportunity
so
to
that
fix
is
the problem.
what is happening now.
Yeah.
So the law has actually not been laid.
True.
The committee is dealing with the pre-laying stages, and that is where these disagreements are coming up, and that is why this is the appropriate time for any civil society organization, anybody who thinks that things must be rectified. This is the stage.
So what's the part? You know, you are the General Secretary, so you wield the ultimate whip when it comes to your members. Mm-hmm. What's the direction to your members on the committee on how to deal with this matter? Should they completely reject that clause, reform it?
We have said that. In fact, almost majority of Ghanaians believe that this is wrong, and that is why we are happy about it. So we are still impressing upon the committee to change this thing, or at least add another means of identification, and then we are good to go. But if you delete and restrict it to just Ghana card, it is dangerous. Then it means that Electoral Commission consciously is going ahead to disenfranchise about 4 million Ghanaians.
You talk about Electoral Commission. You're still boycotting IPAC meetings?
Yes.
But this will come up at the IPAC meeting?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't tabled at the IPAC meeting.
Before
we realized that, you see, when they wrote to us that we should, they have revived the legal committee of the IPAC, so we should send our representative, and then they gave us a draft of the CI, so we should send our representative to go and participate. We wrote to them appointing Honorable Hudu Yahaya to represent us on that committee, because you know that the absence of that committee has been one of our bones of contention with this IPAC system, because we used to have a legal committee, we have technical committee. So when that committee, when the Electoral Commission has to come out with any new law, it is the legal committee that actually puts up the draft. Okay, but since Mensah came, the drafts were all coming from the Attorney General of MPP. And we said that how can one party be making laws for Electoral Commission? They will come from Attorney General, they are never laid. Before you see them, they are in Parliament. We raised this issue. So we were excited when they wrote to us with a draft that we should present our member to go and sit with them. When we wrote to them, appointing Hudu Yahaya, they never, they called him, and the day they fixed the first meeting, he went and they said that the meeting will not come on. They will call him when they are ready. They never called him. The next time we saw was that the law.
But to be fair, he wasn't the only one who was affected here, because I guess the EC just, if that's what happened, then that would have happened to all the parties.
Whether the parties, yes, if that has happened to all the parties, then on what leg is EC standing to say that they have discussed this thing at IPAC? So it means EC has been lying. But if it is the case also that they fix another meeting without inviting him, then that is also equally wrong. So EC cannot say that this is the product of a conversation among the political parties.
But therein lies the challenge with your decision to boycott the EC's IPAC, because you agreed to send somebody to represent you on one committee of the IPAC, but you don't want to be at the IPAC.
Look, we don't hate Electoral Commission. We are saying that do these things correctly. If you do it correctly, we will be part of it. So if they choose one of the things you have proposed and they are doing it correctly and you say, I'm not participating, then it means it's a different matter. You understand?
Okay, but what about IPAC itself?
IPAC, we have said that IPAC has ceased to be a consultative forum for consensus building.
That was a decision.
So the moment IPAC returns to that consultative mode, then we will all be part of it.
But what do you mean by that? I mean, what do you want to see to make you convinced that it's now consultative?
Yeah, the IPAC started as a means of deliberation. For instance, many of the reforms that our electoral system has gone through have been the output of IPAC deliberations. And many of them, 90% of them, never even started with electoral commission. Individual political parties we just bring proposals. We think that this is a good proposal that is worth considering. Can we look at it? Then all the parties will have copies. We will look through it. Everybody will go and consult their experts and so on. We will continue the deliberations till we get a position that we think is acceptable for all the stakeholders. The Electoral Commission will go and implement. That's how IPAC was started. So that's how IPAC took a decision to move from opaque ballot boxes to transparent ballot boxes based upon MPP's proposal. That's how IPAC moved from ordinary registration to voter ID cards, then to picture-based ID cards, and all that. All these things began from one political party or another. Then we will sit down and discuss. So IPAC is never an electoral commission system of just telling you this is our decision, we are coming to inform you. And since the rise to power of Evans Mensah, he just has changed IPAC. You go there and say, this is what we have decided. We have the mandate, we are informing you.
But
he said that, look,
but she's right.
If you are right, very well. So why do you waste my time by inviting me to come and sit there to do what? So if it is a means of informing us what you want to do, you have our addresses. When you take your decision, come and inform us. Because the danger of sitting in such a forum is that you'll be used as a rubber stamp. Because after that meeting, they will come out and announce that this is the results of the deliberations of all the political parties. So the Ghanaians outside will think that you have gone there to deliberate and that the product is a result of your inputs, when in fact you have no input.
So I get the impression you're not returning to IPAC anytime soon.
No, we are going. Listen. So you will be sitting there, and when you want to talk against something that the population is made to believe that it is it includes your inputs, then you look bad, as if you go to IPAC and say one thing, and when you come out, you come and change your mouth and you are saying something different. In fact, that is what has happened to all the other political parties that attended the IPAC Electoral Commission is referring to. You know something? Since they returned from the IPAC, have you heard from any single political party apart from MPP coming out to defend the use of Ghana card solely as a means of identification for the purposes of registration? Not a single one. All the people who attended the IPAC, when you interview them now, they say it is wrong. So, what picture does it paint? Is it the case that the matter was not discussed at IPAC? Is it the case that they raised all these concerns, 25 of them against MPP, and still Electoral Commission decided that it will go by one position? Or what is it?
So when will you return to the IPAC? You said you will.
Yes, we will. When? We are ready to go anytime, but we must go after our concerns have been dealt with. And these concerns, you know, when the Afrobarometer survey came out, it indicated that only 10% of Ghanaians believe that Electoral Commission is not biased. 10. The whole country. 90% of Ghanaians think that Electoral Commission is biased. They are not doing their work well. Then, as if that was not enough, when the National Security Strategy document was produced, and they were identifying, you see, the security system of every country is built on the risks that the society faces. So the security threats, one of the most important, prominent security threats to Ghana as we have it now is the mistrust in our electoral processes under this electoral commission. So it is in there in the National Security Strategy document. So if we have identified that mistrust in the electoral commission is a major security threat for our democracy, what do? We have as a nation to work together to make sure that that security threat is removed or addressed. So the National Peace Council, following this report, came out, consulted us, that look, this is a security threat which is threatening to consume.
How recent is this? When they
about 6 months ago. So they came to us and said, we want to engage to make sure that you return to IPAC. In fact, it was the Commonwealth and the same National Peace Council, they came first in collaboration with Commonwealth, Africa Union, and so on, to try and see how we can return to IPAC. We engaged. Jim Mensah never attended the forum. We engaged up to a certain point and we signed the Adan communique, hoping that things will happen. Nothing happened. Later we got to know that Jim Mensah was proving difficult. So the Commonwealth and AU and other things process just fell through. Then when this national security document came up and then the Afro-Barometer report came, the Peace Council invited us.
This must be recent. Because
no, about 6 months ago.
Okay.
So the Peace Council invited us. And we said, well, these are our cards. We are ready any day to go back to IPAC, so long as IPAC returns to its old ways of consensus building.
Yeah, but you have already set a condition for return.
Yes, but that is the purpose of IPAC.
Yeah.
If you are going to travel.
But you must ask yourself, but why is it it's only the NDCs taking this position? All the other parties go to IPAC. They don't have the same consensus.
Who are the other parties?
I mean, the MPP and the 25 or so other parties you mentioned where they
Look, you remember that when Jim Mensah was the head of IE, he defined a party in Ghana to mean those that are represented in Parliament. He cannot be at Electoral Commission now and adopting a different definition.
That definition.
So let me tell you, how many parties do you have?
But you have PNC, CPP, all of them going to IPAC.
We have 50%.
I mean, why is that only the NDC is not boycotting IPAC?
It is not about only NDC.
But that's a fact now.
That is 50% of the electorate.
Yeah, but no problem.
So
but there are 27 parties currently.
I'm saying that
all of them go to IPAC. All of them don't see the point you're saying.
If I can finish with this process with the Peace Council. So Peace Council held a meeting with us. We put our cards on the table. They were convinced. They said that, well, this is a roadmap we are going to follow. So let us, the next stage is for us to go and engage the leadership of MPP. Then after that, we will engage the leaderships of both MPP and NDC together. Then the next stage will be engaging with Electoral Commission. Then after the engagement with Electoral Commission, we will now put all of you together. Then after that, we will seal the deal and you return. I said, fine enough. So let's go. So they went and met with MPP leadership. The meeting went well. They organized another meeting between NDC and MPP leadership. We met at Holiday Inn, fantastic meeting. All those agreements, all those things we're saying were agreed to. So they promised that they were going to now meet Electoral Commission. After that, they will call the bigger meeting. 6 months and over now, nothing has happened. We followed up. And the response was that Electoral Commission has refused to grant Peace Council audience.
And they said refused?
Yes.
Or unable?
Refused to grant Peace Council.
You're certain about it?
I'm certain about it.
You are quoting the Peace Council.
I am saying call and call them for interview, the leadership of Peace Council. They will not speak unless they are prompted. Then that has...
Because you're attributing something to that.
I am saying I mean what I have said. Then another effort was begun by civil society organizations that are into governance. I mean, IDEC, CDD, and others. They also came together to initiate another process. And were informed they had a buy-in of very important key missions in Ghana. supporting it and ready to fund it, our development partners. So they also met us with this same proposal. So the two proposals were even running concurrently. They met us and we said, oh, we are ready to go to IPAC any day. We are not a difficult thing. We are only saying that IPAC should be doing what it was established to do. So these are our proposals for electoral reform. These are our proposals for how IPAC should be organized and so on. So they also took them on board. They went and started the various meetings. When they came to Electoral Commission has refused to meet them.
Okay.
So these two processes have also. So I want Ghanaians to know that if we are not at IPAC, we are not at IPAC because of the conduct of Electoral Commission and not a National Democratic.
This is something that we'll check with the EC.
Check. You can call
and the Peace Council. Let's move on away from the issues of the register.
Yes.
The economy is obviously a big deal now. The president yesterday, the NDC.
You see, before you go to the economy, ask EC, how come they are now talking about reducing the number of political parties?
After the audit.
They themselves are saying it now.
Yeah.
They are agreeing. We have said that they have abandoned the function of regulating political parties. It's part of our reform proposals.
But they did an audit recently.
It is what they are implementing. So if you are implementing the proposals we are making, and we are saying that let's discuss those proposals for implementation, you say they don't make sense. Why is it that you are implementing them and you still are proving difficult?
We'll verify those.
So they should go and implement the law.
We'll verify those with the EC shortly. But let me ask you your view on the president's take yesterday when he said that reshuffle is something that if he wants to do, he will do. But for now, his appointees have worked outstandingly. The work you use there, you have been outstanding. Yeah. And those people like NDC mentions NDC, you are making the demands for a reshuffle because you want to destabilize this party. And for the others who are asking maybe within this party, they want jobs. Asiedu Nketiah, do you want to destabilize this government as you push for this reshuffle?
There is no government to be destabilized. The government itself is not functioning. So who is going to destabilize it and take credit for destabilization? Let me tell you, this demand for reshuffle, it is coming principally from within the New Patriotic Party. They said that this government is a poor representation of what New Patriotic Party stands for. So president should reshuffle and put the right people there to implement the type of governance that MPP believes.
But NDC has made similar demands.
So we have we have supported that call.
You didn't support, you had your own position on the matter.
The reason why we made those demands was where government now came in to accept that the economic policies have not yielded the desired results.
You're referring to their decisions to go to the IMF.
And therefore, they are to go to IMF. And we were called to come on board with our suggestions. And
they called you?
Oh, there was a public, we were not invited per se with a letter, but there was a public call that now we are in difficulties. It's about the whole country. Everybody should come on board. So we said that, well, the same drivers who took the vehicle into a ditch cannot be relied upon to drive the vehicle again once we want to rescue it. So the managers of the economy must be changed. If not for anything at all, the trust, they have lost the trust of the people. And governance is about trust between the governed and the government. So if somebody has been seen to be very, very economical with the truth, I don't want to be saying lies. A person has been lying persistently and misleading you, and you run into a problem. And now that same person says that from today going, I'll be speaking the truth. Nobody will believe them. So it is better to change that team, put a fresh team there with fresh faces, and when they are communicating with the people, Ghanaians, and urging them to endure the hardship so we get out of this place, people will believe them. Otherwise, leaving the same people there. Why? When St. Paul converted from a murderer into a Christian, because he was persecuting Christians. Mm-hmm. He could not preach in his own town, he has to leave and go and preach somewhere. So
the moral of the lesson is?
The moral of the lesson is that when you have the same finance minister, the same chairman of economic management team, the same this, the same that, who have messed up and brought us this low, they are there, and you say that people should come and support so that they will remain there and take us out of the mess. Nobody will trust you.
So let me ask you, are you suggesting that if the president does a reshuffle and change the team, you'll be more cooperative with them in this time of crisis?
Who says we are not cooperative even now? We are cooperative, except that they don't see the wisdom in cooperation. They don't believe in anybody's cooperation. They think that they can do everything by themselves. So how much more cooperative do you want NDC to be? When we have a problem with the policy, we state it and we tell you the alternative. We say that, look, this is wrong, go it this way. We don't just do reckless criticism. When they are every policy we have criticized, we tell them that, look, do it this way, do it that way. The e-levy, didn't we tell them? We said, please, this e-levy will not deliver what you think it will deliver. So abandon it. The toll, what you call it, levy, is a beginning of a modern way of managing your road construction and maintenance. So it has started. It needs to be expanded, not to be scrapped. Because in the Asian tigers, I mean Malaysia, those places, they have used this e-levy, and they have used what? The road toll. Leverage on the road toll to get private capital to build highways.
Which government says will do now.
And toll and take the money. So why would you scrap a modern measure like this, which was introduced by NDC? So, and we promise that, look, the first day we come back, we will reinstate it. We will reinstate it. We also said that it will be better to collect property rate. It will yield far more resources than e-levy.
The finance minister says in the budget that review that this is something that they're going to be doing.
They are just paying lip service. They are not doing it. The reason is that they don't want to tax themselves. They want to tax the Kayais, but they don't want to tax themselves. Those rich people with property.
That's not a fair comment, is it?
Because it's a fair comment.
But I'm saying that in the mid-year budget review, the finance minister announced that it is something that they're going to pursue.
It is not the mid-year budget. They announce it in the main budget. Nothing has been done, and they are repeating it in mid-year.
Let me ask you.
And the reason why, explain this one. Briefly. The reason why they don't want to implement the e-levy is they don't want to implement property tax is that everybody who will have something to do with the passage of the law to the implementation will be affected. Even today, MPs have properties, ministers have properties.
But this is speculation. That's
no. Go there and everybody has property. True. We all have property.
But you say, to say that that's the reason why they won't pass it.
Nobody wants to support it. That's what. But
that will include your NDC MPs as well.
That's why I'm saying that we need to bite the bullet and say that, look. Yeah. Let us
but you're indicting your own MPs in this.
It's not just about MPs. I'm talking about property owners. I'm a social democrat, and I believe that we must tax.
But the decision makers are primarily the executive and MPs.
And I'm saying that all of us, it will affect all of us. Yeah. You know why? These days, it is very difficult to launder money. When you steal money, it is very difficult to carry money to Europe and put it.
So you are going to let you put it into property.
So people, that is where wrong money.
Let me ask you about
real estates are there.
Let me ask you.
Major media men, you all have those properties.
Let me ask you.
If they want to,
let me ask you.
Go into it.
Let me ask you quickly about the reshuffle.
So that is where we should.
Briefly, you say he should reshuffle. Mm-hmm. Who would you reshuffle out? Give me your list.
Oh, he himself knows those who have not.
No, but I'm asking you.
At least we have said that all those people whom allegations of wrongdoing, corruption, have been raised against, they have no business.
Allegation? You're going to sack a minister because of an allegation?
Sack them, pursue the allegation, because some of them have gotten a report in Parliament. They have investigated the Minister of Health, for instance. He has no business being.
Yeah, but that's an allegation.
No, Parliament has investigated that allegation and got findings.
So the president should sack the health minister.
It should not be there.
Who else?
You have cases where there are a lot of...
I know you said the finance minister too.
And I'm saying that the finance minister, our downgrading, and the fact that we are now having to go to IMF and all that is a complete indictment on the finance
Only two ministers. So the president should only shuffle.
Chairman, no, you are asking me, why are you rushing?
I just have 3 minutes to wrap up.
You have the chairman of the economic management team. He has no business being the chairman of economic management team. We can't sack him as a vice president.
Exactly.
But you can get another person. And if I were them, I will settle on maybe some private individual
to chair the economic management team.
To chair the economic management team.
So the president should sack Bawumia as the chair of the economic management team,
yes,
not as a vice president.
No, you can't sack him as a vice president. But when you cast your eyes around, you can get the likes of maybe Sam Jonas and some people like that. Can you imagine what difference it will make when you hear that government has decided that, say, Sam Jonas is now going to chair the economic management team? Can you imagine the credibility it will bring to policy in this country? And there are several others like that who can be brought together so that they will look at the work not from a political angle, but from a national angle that the nation is in crisis and we have to bring all our best minds together to drive us out of this.
So I've heard you mention health, finance, vice president as chair. Do you have any more?
Plenty of them. I don't. Your time is too small for.
But let me ask you something else that just to wrap up. There's a high likelihood that in Dom Kwabenya there's going to be a by-election. Has the NDC taken a position on the address?
You have said so.
I mean, it's a possibility because the decision has been deferred.
That possibility also applies to all other MPs because tomorrow some MP can have an accident and die. And
true, but in her case it's different.
So
in her case it's different. The decision will be delivered when Parliament returns. The Speaker will have the final say.
The Speaker will not have the final say.
Who will have?
It is a decision of Parliament, not the Speaker.
Well, that's a huge that's disputed. There are many sides.
Oh, it's not disputed because
that's your position on this.
No.
So your position is that the Parliament should decide this, not the Speaker.
That is the law.
So it should be debated. The report of the Privileges Committee should be debated.
Yes, because that Privileges Committee, is it a committee of the Speaker or committee of the Parliament?
Okay, so that's your position on it.
So if
it comes down,
if a matter is referred to a committee, the body that refers the matter to the committee must receive the report and take a decision on it.
If it comes down to a by-election, Dom Kwabenya, the many view stronghold NDC loses again. Is that why you are defending reshuffle? Many have said.
Oh, who is defending reshuffle?
There's a suggestion is that the NDC, in Parliament, it is the NDC minority side that seems to be defending her.
Our position has always been that if reshuffle is not coming to Parliament, and he is not attending to her ministerial duties, who should sack her first?
Okay, so the president has sacked her.
It should be the president.
The president has sacked her first.
So the president has sacked her now. So if Parliament is going to decide, Parliament can then proceed to decide. But that same president cannot sit there and will be pushing strings for Parliament to sack her.
Based on what she's done, you've been in Parliament. Is it justified for her to vacate her seat?
Well, I don't want to prejudice the outcome of Parliament's work. So
you leave it to Parliament to decide.
Let's leave.
Asiedu Nketiah hasn't got a view on this. I
have a view on that. It's not everything
me.
That I have a view on that I talk about.
That's interesting because I don't know you to be a person who holds back on these matters.
No, if you have a particular position and you think that
she should go or not, it's a simple one. Should Parliament pull the trigger on her or not?
I'm saying that Parliament has its own laws, and I'm saying that, look, if we are to implement all the laws in this country faithfully, Ghana will be a wonderful place. That is why Electoral Commission had been there, and you have 25 fake parties who are not operating according to any law in Ghana, and they have been operating an Electoral Commission.
25 fake parties?
Yes.
They'll be very upset with you.
Why?
Why you call them a fake party?
Because the law, according to the law, they should not be existing.
Okay.
You understand? And because Electoral Commission has failed in its duty to regulate political parties according to the Political Parties Act. That is why they exist.
Well,
because if they don't satisfy any of the laws and they are there, why are you blaming Adwoa Safo for not coming to Parliament? Isn't that the same law?
That's
by the same.
That's Johnson Asiedu Nketiah, my guest today on this. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.